I think one of the most interesting things that at least the study of East Germany opens up is the kind of politics of internationalism versus the local and the specific, specifically because, not only because communism was an internationalist project. So I think that the local and the regional undercuts a lot of the established homogeneous narratives that exist art historically. But I wouldn't want to, I think there can be a kind of tyranny of the specific, right, as well. If we think of every localism only on its own terms, then we fail to start to actually interrogate what we mean by East German art, which in itself is a kind of fascinating question. So what we get in the East German context, I think we don't get anywhere else. We get a constant conversation with the West and with the normative models of art history, with cultural models. We have a kind of fascinating feedback loop as well, with TV being seen, with dissident artists exploring their own kind of work and identities in the West, and that being projected back again. So I think that, looked through a Cold War lens, there is always a complicated conversation. I think every moment in East German art history still needs further attention. It's been, one of the most criminally neglected of the regions. Many major exhibitions and collections on Eastern Europe and on the post-socialist condition have neglected the former German Democratic Republic. Often it's seen as being a very provincial, kind of isolated, backward-looking version of the Soviet context. And I think there's also a huge impetus in the fact that a lot of the most interesting work that's been done on East Germany, at least in my mind, hasn't come from art historians. It's often film theorists or literary scholars, people working on theatre, feminism, gender, queer politics. It's very rarely within art history. And a lot of the emphasis in the kind of most interesting or innovative scholarship came from thinking about histories from below, Alltagsgeschichte approaches, the importance of oral histories. And I think certainly, the need and the urgency for those kind of oral histories to be collected. I don't like that as a term because it sounds weirdly reductive. And I think thinking in those kind of unilinear narratives isn't so helpful. I think I would rather think about certain practitioners and the networks they were producing. So I think you can map a kind of model of mail art, which becomes really important with figures like Robert Rehfeldt and his relationship across the East. You can also map a sort of model of what I would tentatively call the neo-avant-garde, and figures like Carl Friedrich Klaus and Hermann Glöckner, who are working in a way that speaks to the pre-war avant-garde in very, very interesting ways, but simply complicates a Western model of that because it's, functioning in a still utopian socialist system. That's a really fascinating question because, again, you have the kind of politics of the global reach of communism, the kind of possibilities of the non-alignment movement, which have begun to be explored a little bit more. I think you have kind of fascinating projects where that global and international dimension of East German visual culture has been explored a little bit more. I think about the global, though I think at the same time is always a sense that you're still going to have blind spots. You're still replicating problematic narratives. There's always going to be some way that you can decenter and problematize and produce the margins of that kind of account. Yeah, I think so, absolutely. But I think one of the problems with setting up this sort of the need for visibility in the kind of field of East German art is that you end up with the works that kind of sort of do best, right, in that kind of visual hierarchical domain. It's not always about making what is invisible visible.